Hey, everybody, and welcome to Keeping It Spiritually Simple. I'm Sandra, and I am here with the one and only Laura Eisenhower, and we're going to talk a little bit about the astrological climate. We're here at the solstice on June 21st. And, I had a couple questions for Laura because, over the years of celebrating this, and that with the planets, I have learned that, people talk about the moon being, you know, a space station and being made out of different things and for the dark, for the light, and all this stuff. And I've often wondered if it has the same effect on our astrological chart globally or individually. And I was going to ask Laura what she thought about that, and then I wanted to ask her, what really is the solstice?
Hmm.
Because
Wow. Yes.
if time and calendars are all man-made, I'm just curious. Those questions came up to me today.
Right. So, yeah, there's the man-made calendars, and then there's just the cycles of nature and the seasons and equinoxes and solstices and eclipses and just these events that, take place that we can experience outside of the limitation of like the Gregorian calendar. We've lost in many ways connection to the 13 moon calendar. And despite the fact that there are artificial components to the moon, the lunar energy still holds a lot of influence over us. And it's not all artificial. Same with the planet that we exist upon. We see geoengineering, we see artificial intelligence, we see different uh, tactics being used to compromise our development as humans through, the use of dark technologies that put things in kind of reversals that are trying to digress us and limit us. But we can exist in a completely different trajectory when we remove ourselves from it and just tap into what's kind of going on within ourselves. And when we just kind of let go of all of that and just feel into just, what's occurring in nature, that we don't have to impose upon a calendar. I mean, even though we still operate our schedules around it, and
Mhm.
we're influenced by it. you know we're also liberating ourselves from it, through understanding where the distortions are, if you know what I
Yeah.
mean.
That was two pop questions. And Laura had no idea what I was about to ask her. And of course, she always delivers the most amazing answers. So now it's just
I don't know.
restored a little bit of faith I have in the moon. So at least energetically. So thank you for clarifying.
Yeah. Well, it's the longest day of the year, and it's all about the solar energy. And I really feel that this particular summer solstice and what it represents is really connecting to the Father God outside of and beyond the patriarchal lower creator gods, and how humans have been very much under the influence of um, this kind of patriarchal domination. And that is why, the calendars and everything has just been sort of rewritten, recreated in order to provide a structure that is just not enabling us to get really in touch with the true mother father principle, which is encoded in our DNA, which has become very difficult to access in the face of a lot of programmings and inversions that we see in our society, that, it's the time to really break free of. Saturn and Pluto being in retrograde, I think, is really significant along with the solstice energies, because the Saturn energy is very much about the authority, the patriarchy, and those archetypal energies that are very suppressing to the intuitive aspects of the feminine, the nurturing qualities, the bigger picture of what the mother energy represents, the maiden mother crone, how that connects with the seasons and the cycles, and also just what this planetary body really represents for us as Mother Earth. So I see a lot of people acting out, and a lot of things coming to the surface in a sort of almost like a very reactive about this mother energy rising, or that power rising, that is in connection with the true divine father energies. And so I think a lot of people that have held on to ancestral patterns or programs or religious indoctrination are having a hard time with these powerful transmissions and things with the Schumann resonance, and trying to hold on for dear life to the things that they just were taught and believed. Yeah, it's just kind of bringing out the worst in people, but hopefully it'll provide a clearing and a purging, because as Pluto is in retrograde back into Capricorn, ruled by Saturn, and Saturn being in Pisces in retrograde, it's like I feel like the growth period for humanity right now is really unpacking and releasing a lot of the just a lot that was taught, a lot that was taken on from outside of the self. And if one looks at the true teachings of the Essenes and Yeshua, and it's completely different than what religious texts that have been distorted like show. And so that's a lot of what I'm kind of tapping into, and it's just, yeah, it's really wild to see just how people are feeling into it all, the resistances.
Yeah, well, do you think there's just a, like when I think of what the Schumann's been doing lately, I'm like, shoo, it's been, a little intense lately. It's bringing up a lot of triggers amongst people, a lot of different, I mean, it's all over the place. What I personally feel myself, and I'm like, where did that come from? Let me take a look at that. Only because I'm self-aware, but I see a lot of cray-cray out here in the DC area. It's like,
I bet.
Where did all you people come from?
Yeah. Yeah. So a lot of energy is peaking summer solstice, with just more of the solar energies coming through, and our relationship to that, and what needs to be cleared in order for us to really stand in alignment and feel like this upgrade. And if there's resistance, if you're looping in a belief system that is creating resistance, the ego personality of people can really begin to act out and just project, or just like react in anger, and a lot of just misogyny, even as far as like what the religions have taught. So there's just so much to talk about as far as that's concerned. And yeah, it just it's like nature and these alignments have a way of like assisting us in this great awakening, and the activations and the transmissions that come through the core sun of the earth, the solar energy from the sun, and how that links into the galactic core, and just this sort of resetting, or this repair work, rehabilitation of the planetary grid network, and just everything coming back into alignment when people really go into that dark night of the soul and look at where they've held on to belief systems or ancestral patterns that, ultimately, if it's not in alignment with truth, it's not going to work really well in your physical body, and that's really, to me, the root of like disease and unwellness and mental health issues that our outer system is very much wanting to medicate or just disrupt with a lot of different tactics of, divide and conquer techniques to, make it really hard for us to help switch each other on and come together in unity consciousness, and more mutual love and respect, regardless of our path on a spiritual level, to find that source energy and find that within ourselves. Why is there so much anger, and, it's my way, or, and if you don't believe this, then you'll be damned. And if you're interested in this, that's of the devil. And I mean, a lot of programs are getting broken down, but if there's not a willingness to break those down, it's unbelievable to see how people are just hanging on for dear life to just uphold and defend these, belief systems. And it stems from past lives. It stems from the way they were raised. It might be something that they explored all on their own. And in order to get to the truth, it's like, it's not really going to come from outside of you. And even in just the Essene gospel of peace, it talks about seek not the law in your scriptures, for the law is life, whereas the scripture is dead. I tell you truly, Moses received not his laws from God in writing, but through the living word. The law is living word of living God to living prophets for living men, and everything that is life is the law written. You find it in the grass, in the tree, in the river, in the mountain, in the birds of heaven, in the fishes of the sea, but seek it chiefly in yourselves. For I tell you truly, all living things are nearer to God than the scripture, which is without life. I mean, so some people wouldn't want to hear that, who are just following something that has been, and it's not a terrible thing. There's a lot like to that, but really getting back in touch with Mother Earth and the healing properties of the animals and the elements of nature, and recognizing the mother principle in union with the father, and how that is encoded in our DNA template to begin to awaken, to switch on dormant strands of DNA and understand the integration of polarity and the sacred union, the hierogamic union within ourselves, is to really begin the healing process. And to me, that is what the awakening is all about. Beginning to discard indoctrination and dogma and, teachings that, may have served its purpose, may have been helpful to be a moral compass, but where does that begin to become spiritual righteousness and egoic to the point where you condemn others if they don't follow your particular way? I think our spiritual path is very sacred and individual, and that everybody deserves respect in whatever pathway they're choosing, as long as they're living a life of integrity and they hold compassion, and they're in service to others, and they hold love in their heart, because it's really about becoming a Christed being and really embodying what the teachings are, instead of speaking on behalf of an individual that might not be saying the words that you think you're reading.
Yeah.
So in my studies of like chelantic science and things that come through, like Lisa Renee, and who has the website energeticsynthesis.com, there's a really cool quote I can read, but I don't want to, like, do you want me to read it real quick?
Absolutely. It's coming through. Let's
Yeah.
read it.
So the cosmic Christos dragon teachings and all that was connected to the mother of dragon knowledge that was exemplified by Mary Magdalene Sophia's legacy was gradually desecrated, destroyed, or converted into the Vatican-approved narratives. The draconian invasion into Rome from 2,000 years ago gradually infiltrated the Greek knowledge and sacred texts in order to build the Church of Rome, which was used to hide and subvert the original Essene Christos Sophia dragon teachings and spread religious mind control and spiteful misogyny in its place. This began the negative alien agenda installation of organized religions slanted in patriarchal domination that were used to distort the knowledge and remove the awareness of the existence of the inner Christ. So that to me is like what the inner work is all about. And with Pluto in retrograde, going back into Capricorn, looking at the structure of society, looking at what has influenced humans based in this sort of outer authority, this sort of false parent that people sort of have a false sense of security or trust in. I think this is the huge growth period of realizing, like, whoa, maybe that's not where it's at. Maybe that doesn't really care about us. Maybe there's deeper layers that aren't conspiracy theories, but are actually these hidden elements that need to come to light, so that we are not in a dependency bond with an inversion that could ultimately separate us from our soul, our intuition, our higher mind, and our common sense and sensibility and ability to just be the best of yourself and a good member of your community and a good person in general. Everybody needs to check themselves when it comes to the divide and conquer and the judgments, and just like get out of your head, get into your heart. And so I just feel the solstice energy, peaking, the sun stands still. It's the longest day, of the year, to really bring in that solar energy, on an organic level, is to really begin to activate your inner Christ consciousness, which some would just call new agey and just completely spit upon. It's like, what? Where is being conscious of the Christ energy been so projected upon? that we are such lowly humans that we can only worship, we can only redeem ourselves through worshiping a crucified being like Jesus on the cross, Yeshua. And I think it's just much more about the inner process of letting the ego die so that we can resurrect that ego in more alignment with our soul and our connection to spirit and our connection with Mother Earth, to rebuild the tree of life template out of the tree of knowledge, out of the duality of good and evil. So it's hard to, share this kind of stuff when you get that kind of backlash, but it's like, it is what it is. I mean, just the
Exactly.
study of astrology or tarot. I mean, people will say that's of the devil and this and that. And it's funny because it has the Hierophant, it has the devil archetype. And it even says in the book that some of these archetypes would look down on even using tarot as a tool. Like the Hierophant from the Mother Piece, which is a circle tarot deck, says the Hierophant is a bore. He's overbearing and pompous, feels superior to others, and tries to keep a lid on what's happening. He's probably against dancing, singing, and making love. Certainly, he would not want you using tarot cards, which he would call a tool for the devil. When he's in your psychic realm or your psychic space, you need to get out from under his thumb, right? So this is what I feel about the calendars. This is what I feel about the patriarchal, sort of twisted and distorted texts that are very much even what we see in the 10 Commandments. It's like kind of like a jealous God. There are no gods before me. There's no mention really of the mother, understanding of Mary Magdalene and an understanding of Mother Earth. And to disconnect from that is to disconnect from ourselves. Why would we want to disconnect from nature? Why would we want to demonize the mother energy when we exist upon her body? And she is providing us the air, the water, and the fruits and the vegetables and the ecosystem that sustains life. It's just shocking to me. It's like 2023. And I think I'm recovering from a lot of troll attack from my last video. It's just like constant. And even when I posted something about the Magdalene flame, I got a slew of emails of, if you don't accept the Lord Jesus Christ as your savior, we're really worried about you and your teachings. It's like, I don't have teachings. I'm just trying to remind people of who you truly are. And, don't be afraid to find self-knowledge, to discover yourself, discover your truth, and to really feel into whatever it is you're moving through. Because we're elemental beings, we need to honor the emotions that come up and not allow ourselves to stagnate in depression. We need to honor the fire element and the anger that arises and not direct it in harmful ways, but see the passion behind it and where we want to direct that energy in order to create change and transformation. Just the air element, we want to be able to think clearly and think for ourselves and not be infected by thought forms of psyops and social engineering, mind control tactics that are just really just siphoning our energies to create a false artificial timeline that we do not need to participate in. And, and then the earth energy, our physical vessel, our body, it can regenerate. We can go through these death cycles and come out the other end, because it is all about rebirthing, the mother womb that rebirths us, that helps to transform us. And, the more in touch with that we get, the better we feel. And it's okay to drop our relationship to all the outer noise that's constantly bombarding us and just like step back and say, just feel into it and see what comes up and ask yourself, is it really your truth? Is it making you angry? Is it making you reactive? Is it making you judgmental? Is it causing you to want to lash out because you're uncomfortable with something that you might not be familiar with? And is it really that unfamiliar? Because I think this is something that is more about reunion, like an awakening to like the truth of all that we are. That's something you don't need to learn or regurgitate. It's something that you discover, through moving through these difficult initiations in the dark night of the soul, to just find that, inner light or inspiration that shows you where your calling might be. Why are you facing adversities and challenges? Maybe that is your assignment to take on in order to overcome it and to be that beacon of light, of victory, to help others out of, we can't do it for anybody, but we can certainly be a support and, remind each other we're not alone. We have to be brave enough to face that dark night of the soul. And I feel the solstice is really shining a light that solar light as the Pluto Saturn retrograde to really purge out, like, where are we not able to receive that upgrade, that energy that we see with the Schumann resonance, the vibration of the earth, all that's happening in this powerful window period that is helping us to awaken. Where are we avoiding it? Where are we resisting it? Where are we harming ourselves through attacking others, maybe as a projection of our own inability to look within? I don't know. I know I'm just going off here.
Oh, no, no, you're bringing up really good points because every time you're talking, I'm like, I see the stall and freeze, people that stall and then they freeze, and people that if they're even made to get out of that, they discombobulate. They can't handle getting out of their comfort zone. So just the thought of maybe I'm in the inverted, indoctrinated point, and people just can't understand that they're, hey, how about if I step out of that, because they're just afraid to, because some people would rather die than change. And I think what I'm hearing you say is a lot of this current energies right now in planetary alignment is creating a lot of this stuff to come up, and you can either do the baptism by fire, or you can get pulled and drug into it by other means. But it would be certainly a lot easier if you went within and began to work through things that might bring you some inner knowledge and work from the inside out, and maybe step away from all the exterior BS that's getting, doused and poured all over you, and do some of the inner work. And I think that's what I'm hearing is coming up right now for a lot of people. And I think that's what I'm hearing you make a point of, and it's important, and I like the way you say it. So keep going, girlie.
Oh, thank you. Oh, yeah. Well, to look at the energies of today, the moon, Venus, and Mars is all in Leo. Leo is ruled by the sun. Here we are with the longest day of the year, strong solar energy. So the moon being in Leo, Venus and Mars, right? Venus, very much just all about the heart, all about just self-love, loving others, just the beauty of nature. Venus, all about our connection with abundance. It rules both Libra and Taurus. So, in Leo with the solar energy on Mars and Venus, it's like, whoa, Mars, Venus, one would think Venus more the feminine, Mars more the masculine. And with the sun shining light on that Venus Mars, I think it's really putting people in a lot of processing connected to, Mars, the warrior, the willpower, who can be very aggressive. And then Venus, who, just wants that power center to be integrated with the heart. In the I Ching, you got the creative and the receptive. So the creative would be, okay, ready to take action. The receptive is, what do I need to receive first before I take action? What do I need to contemplate? What do I need to intuit? What do I need to understand and receive? Almost like, when we receive an inspiration or a download, or we connect with a vision or dream and we plant that seed, we want to give birth to it and take action and support that seed in becoming its greatest potential to become that flower. But we have to create a sacred space around it so that it's not harmed, so that it's not messed with or interfered with, so the receptivity and the open heart and the vulnerability and empathic nature of nurturing nature of the heart-based person, it's like, got the Mars, like, okay, you want to take action with that. While we're kind of going through this kind of purging and clearing, it's also like, hopefully like really lighting people up and, taking more action and direction in their life based in being guided more by the heart, more by that integration and union within of the masculine and feminine, the receptive and the creative. And this is very much our right and left brain. I mean, this is the greater energy circulation that just exists within our being. And then you got the moon in Leo. So it's like, okay, intuiting it and feeling into it, that has a feminine energy. How can we break free from the artificial components of it? The Saturn moon matrix, the artificial component of this imbalance where the feminine energy is sort of exiled or silenced or not listened to, not understood. And the rings of Saturn representing sort of the artificial transmissions into that lunar energy that, you know, just creates this instability within, which I feel it very much opens one up to archonic attachments and AI signals, and, you know, just feeling very raw and very triggered, to the point of not really being able to get to the root of it and where that trauma stems from. And that's where all the psyops kind of come in, of a lot of these movements or a lot of these things that I think are distracting us away from a lot of the deeper layers that we need to look at. You know what I mean?
Oh, yes, I do.
It's a lot to put into words, and I'm not the best
Don't
communicator
tell
at
me you're
times,
not
but
good at words, because you are.
but yeah,
You
so I mean, the sun
are.
is entering Cancer, right? The moon is in Leo. And then as we reach the end of July, the nodes are going to shift from the North Node Taurus to the North Node Aries. And when we look at the nodes, they represent the greater growth period. And the nodes connect to the eclipses. So South Node is more familiar, something that we can tap into and reflect upon, but we want to integrate, you know, the opposite for our soul growth and development so that we can evolve, right? So we have our own North and South Node in our natal chart. But when we look at the transiting North and South Node, what we've been dealing with as a growth period for humanity is reflecting upon that scorpionic energy ruled by Pluto. You know, what do we need to let go of and release? What is our relationship with, you know, our own sense of, you know, personal power? Do we misuse it? Are we being transformed, like you said, facing that fire, you know, just kind of that transformative, like plutonic energy. You know, it's got the scorpion, but then it's got the phoenix rising, it's got the golden eagle element, it's got like this higher energy of like completing that transformation cycle. So if we haven't completed that, if we haven't gone through the full initiation, if we're fearing death, if we're fearing our own power, if we're misusing the power in the face of not wanting to get to the core to kind of rebirth ourselves after the purification process, then we still got more work to do. But integrating the Taurus energy is about self-worth. How do we define our self-worth? Is it based in the reward system of society? Is it based on what our parents told us we should be seeking as a way to feel like successful and worthy? I mean, what has been passed down to us and what has defined our self-worth? So to me, the polarity of the Scorpio Taurus is redefining our sense of self-worth and abundance. You know, people are feeling a lot of survival energy connected to the possible, you know, global reset and the banks like falling, which some have, and just our relationship with money and self-worth connected to all that. Now we're being called to just redefine it on our own terms so that we don't go into the survival chakra when all those things are threatened. We begin to find a deeper abundance with our creative and manifestation abilities. That we know that we're abundant regardless of the dependency bond with the system that, you know, gives us that self-worth connected to a paycheck or connected to a promotion or a degree or a certificate or something that validates us or praises us. And there's nothing wrong with that, but where are we so hooked into it that if any of it were to cause us to question it or its validity or its security in the long term, who are we without it? So we almost have to die and get reborn to find our self-worth on our own terms. What does it mean to truly be yourself and drop the fear of what others think? Now that we're moving into the North Node Aries, which is ruled by Mars, the I am creator self, the ego identity. Who are we? Who are you? With the South Node being Libra, we're reflecting upon, okay, are we balanced? Is the masculine and feminine within ourselves integrated? Do we know how to be receptive and then take action so that we don't take action in haste, that we're not just reacting or responding to something out of like a survival instinct or a response to fear? Or can we like really feel into it and ask our intuition and our discernment, is this really the best choice for us? So that when we do take action with that Mars energy, that it's in alignment with our truth, our soul, our guidance from spirit, and our connection with the trajectory that Mother Earth holds for us, that we're a part of, which is to awaken and recognize ourselves as divine humans. We don't need to be assimilated into this insanity or overly react to it and try and battle it to the point of exhaustion. So I think when we reflect upon that Libra energy, it's not just about partnership or relationship. It's about harmony, balance, justice. And when we maintain that within and we don't hold the burden of other people's ignorance in our space, we can release ourselves from it so it doesn't throw us out of balance. Then the Mars energy is really strong. So here we are, Mars, Venus, and Leo, and also the moon and the solstice energy. And then that shift of the nodal axis is going to be really lit up for people. And if you're running a false sense of identity that's been groomed or engineered into you because of social engineering, and you're reflecting on like balance, you might really feel like your body's out of balance or something's like really out of whack. Well, you're still going to have that Pluto in retrograde and Saturn in retrograde to redefine your belief systems and your sense of self-worth and an opportunity to really do the purging and clearing so that when Pluto moves into Aquarius in 2024, you're ready to go and you're not answering to, an AI solution or a false alien, false savior, false problem reaction solution game that has been played over and over again throughout human history.
Mm-hmm. So would a lot of this have effect too? Like, I feel like I'm pretty aligned, but I have found probably in the last couple weeks more of a short fuse to correct injustices. Like, don't you talk to me like that? And it's like a buildup of letting it slide. But if I'm fully aligned, it's not quite as irritating. But just having a little more of a short fuse, is that also part of what's happening right now energetically?
Yeah.
Or am I just, just
No, I have a short fuse. I have to check myself. It's like try to find more neutrality. Don't let it kind of like get into my system, even though it does. So if it does, I have to like release it, whether that's through just kind of closing the door and getting away from everybody and everything to just like have my like, okay, I'm just gonna like kind of cry and like scream it out. like but yeah, I mean, these corrections are happening on an organic level just with the planetary alignments, but because of the awareness of these planetary alignments, they can kind of use that against us. And so this dismissal of our quest for self-knowledge through tools like astrology and tarot and kind of the demonization of, really getting to know ourselves and being able to think for ourselves, and being persecuted or censored for just exploring a deeper, deeper sort of knowledge and information that could help explain things. It's like there's so much injustice, there's so much double standards, there's so much hypocrisy, there's so much that we see in the outer system is just like really not doing its job, really not. And then okay, there's the well-intentioned people that are taking up on leadership roles that is really inspiring and encouraging, that are working it as we're working it within. It's like we're all being tasked with where we feel like called to do the work. So it's either taking action and doing it in a very external way on a public level, or just taking the time to just do it just within. Both are just as important, but we can't really do a whole lot for the world if we don't start, first with ourselves. And I think, divine justice corrects itself when, we just kind of come into balance and we don't put our expectations on anything outside of us, because there is cosmic and natural law and things that will naturally correct. Sometimes I'm baffled though by like, there's no like, where's the karma for like these injustices? It's like, you don't see enough of it. Like, well, how can they still be getting away with, all of this? But I do know it's going to expire. And it's just holding on to the facade and the false light, while behind the scenes, it's much more of a mess and it's much more falling apart than it shows itself. But we see a lot of indications.
There's a lot.
But, everybody's going to perceive it in a different way.
A lot of production going on in the back. A lot of things going on behind the scenes. I agree with you.
Yeah, I mean, I feel there is. And just like there's a lot going on behind the scenes within ourselves as far as what we need to just hold on to, as far as what do we want to manifest and create, instead of feeling like we're always at the mercy of what's going on outside of us, and that is going to define our reality. we have to just be strong in ourselves to just kind of write the script for ourselves and align with the visions and dreams and goals that we can achieve in our own way, and be prepared because of what we know, but not get so consumed in it to the point where we break down, give up, or find ourselves stagnant or unable to move forward. And that's the trickery, I think, is just really wanting to yank us in, because it really requires, it doesn't matter what the belief systems are. It just, as long as we're all divided and we're not getting along, that's the goal. And they're doing a pretty good job in like succeeding in that. So just, yeah, holding neutrality and holding just love and patience. But yeah, getting all fired up, you should. I mean, because it's better than just being quiet and just taking it. I mean, I'm sure when you get fired up, it's appropriate, and you just say what you need to say when you need to say it, and it's better than internalizing it and holding on to it, but if it begins to really weigh on you and really, impact you, like it can for me sometimes, it's like, okay, I'm just gonna focus on self-care. I'm just gonna spend most of my day in the bathtub with the Epsom salts and
Yeah.
go
Yeah.
outside in nature, hang out with
Well,
the animals.
exactly. When you were saying, about all this, I kept getting this vision. I get a lot of vision. My messages come through uh with just pictures and things. And I know, just for me, it's like I can be going about my day, and then all of a sudden my guide team puts me in a room of mirrors. And the first thing you want to do with mirrors in any movie is you're trying to find the mirror that helps you to escape, right? Like, which mirrors is not the trick mirror where I can escape? But my guides are always like, no, this is a mirror for you to kind of go back in. And once you go inward and figure it out here, the mirrors will disappear. Then you'll go about your life, and then more mirrors will appear. You're going to need to look at that. And so it's this constant getting in this cubicle of mirrors, I've noticed, just for myself. And I think others are too. But if you don't know what's going on, you can really lose, a lot of your fire, and you can take it out on all the wrong people for all the wrong reasons. And like you said, find a space where you can have an outlet, whether it's with animals or in the bathtub, or maybe socializing, having fun, laughing, not thinking about it, maybe a little more meditation, whatever that is for each individual. I think that's very important. So thank you for pointing that out, that this is a time for
Yeah,
a little inner TLC.
definitely, because it's really a mess out there. It's just, and it's very disturbing. It's hard to completely separate oneself from it. So it's like, yeah, determining within our own being, how much of it can we take, how much is it getting in the way of self-preservation and self-care, and just staying solid within ourselves, and staying aligned, and staying in the flow of just being manifestors, and of what we'd like to see, and just knowing that that is a completely different trajectory. That is what we would hope other people would awaken to. And sometimes that compassion or empathy can overwhelm, or the concern, or just the disappointment too. And just like, what is it going to take? How much more ridiculous can it get? Like, how can you still comply or consent or even put your children in this position? But it's not like a judgment thing. It's just more about just a compassion, to how difficult it is for people to just let go of playing by the rules, because this is what you're being told, to the expense of your own instincts of knowing what is right. I mean, it's really disturbing how much the mind control can override being in touch with like your own intuition and your soul, like saying, this is probably not the best thing for my kid, this is probably not the best thing for myself, but it'll take as long as it takes for people. And again, it's not like a judgment thing. It's a more frustration thing, because there's nothing to fear in letting go of it all.
Yeah.
I mean, you might be attached to, what that paycheck means as far as putting a roof over your head. And of course, if there's leases and agreements and mortgages and this and that, it's not easy to just like all of a sudden like hit the road and just get away, and just, especially if you have a bunch of kids and you're dealing with just, so, this is the hard part, because if people aren't prepared, and now the rude awakening is happening, and there's no pre-preparation, it's a lot to unwind from. It's a lot to unhook yourself from. But the more we can build community, and the more we can just provide resources and comfort for those that are ready, the better, instead of like division, like, you're over here and you just don't get it, and we're over here. It's like, regardless of what bifurcates, I still feel that there's a lot of beings that are in service to help those that, however far down they get on that path that is inverted and distorted, that there's plenty of opportunity to rehabilitate and heal and come back to center, and many souls that'll be here to assist, instead of it just splitting into two different, timelines. An event, an awakening can hit anybody at any time. It's amazing working with people when they had their so-called awakening, and just one event, like, oh yeah, 2 years ago, this happened to me, and then boom, everything changed. And when everything changes within you, then the physical will catch up. Our consciousness, once it gets something, once our mind is free from something, it'll take a little bit for the physical to catch up, as far as how you need to unhook yourself from the things you've invested in or agreed to. But the minute you have that within, that's when the synchronicities line up, and the greater forces, universal forces of cosmic and natural law, and just the power of your mind and intent, and what that manifests and creates, will really accelerate the process to help remove you from, these agreements, these attachments, these contracts, and these, karmic things that you might be facing, that you don't have to keep looping in, So that is the importance of the inner work. Once you free your mind, once you free yourself from it, and you cut the cords, everything will eventually catch up. But physical density moves very slowly compared to the quick epiphanies that one can, tap into when you just have those moments of like, whoa, okay. And I always look at it in the same way of getting out of anything, getting away from toxic friendships and relationships and partners. And it's just, the minute you get it, the minute you take seriously the red flags, and you know that you deserve way better, and you don't have to consent and comply because you think that's all life is giving you, a whole other world opens up, and it's a much more beautiful world to embrace in the now, to manifest a much better future. And it can just take a moment for a person to completely turn around. It's just, sometimes it's just like, come on, you can do it. And it's hard not to get pulled into, just being concerned, when you just know it could be so different. But everybody's where they're at, and got to kind of let go and just be a resource. And it's not like it's a resource of having all the answers, but it's just that reminder of, okay, we all were born into this. We all were put in front of the TV. We all went to school. We all, had parents that might have passed down to us things that, we wanted to break free from. And they might have handed us lots of great nuggets of wisdom, and given us love as well. I mean, everybody's got a different journey, but yeah, it's a process. And so if we just not be distracted by the divide and conquer, and just like get over all that, and starve this system from all the tactics it's using to make it really difficult to come together, that's the first step, I feel. So a lot of brave teachers and doctors out there, that are standing up, but lots of backlash, lots of ridicule, lots of censorship. And hopefully that sounds the alarm that, if you want to be appreciated for you fighting for your rights and freedoms with the Pride movement or Black Lives Matter, I mean, isn't this across the board for anybody that is wanting to have respect for their freedom of speech and their struggles and what they might have gone through? Who hasn't been enslaved? What race has not been under some sort of incredible abuse from the tyrannical controls of this small group of individuals that have been waging war and genocide and Holocaust upon the multitude of races and beings? We have to look at how they're playing us against each other and see what the root of the darkness is really coming from. This is thousands of years of history of it.
Yeah. And you can bring it down just to your basics. I mean, just look at your food. Look at what a small organic apple looks like to its size, to what a general farmer is growing and feeding their apple trees. And I mean, they're as big as my head. I was looking at them the other day. I mean, you could look at all the things that are going on, and you can say, you know what, the buck stops with me. I cannot control all of this out here. I can't tackle all of that out there because it'll be too overwhelming, but I can stop, drop, sit, connect with my breath, make a difference within myself today, and become more aware. And then also become more aware of my due diligence on how I emanate my energy and what choices I make. And then what actions do I take to make it a better day, to coexist with some of the crazy out there. And if not, you'll just feed right into it and just become, well, just another day. And next thing you know, you were running with the masses, doing almost everything they're doing and ignoring. But we need to break the welding cages and step out of them one person at a time. And then when you step out of it, you'll realize there's more people out there. And you know, Laura, I see a lot of aha moments. I do, not only with clients, but friends and out in the general public. But I see just as many absolutely locked down, like no clue, locked down. And the only thing I can do is just align myself and just emanate as much love and compassion as I can, as I'm learning to field all the energies that are coming at me, you know, or that I'm maneuvering through in order to become a better new me, you know, so to speak.
Yeah. Yep.
So any suggestions you have for anyone for, you know, upcoming next few weeks, and you know, with this, any words of wisdom or any planetary alignment people could learn to kind of jump over the moon or dodge Mars or whatever it is, it just to feel things a little more gently?
Well, I mean, all the planets connect with our organs and our chakras. And so just to really feel into, where's pain in your body? Where are you holding on to stuff? Very often when we feel pain or anxiety, there's a message that needs to be heard. And our inability to listen is going to create symptoms in the body. And it just needs release. It needs, some kind of outlet. And sometimes it has more to share than we might have thought. If we just feel the sensation and we feel uncomfortable in the sensation and we just want to numb it, or we just want to, feel uncomfortable and, just look at the surface things to be triggered by, it's like, let those triggers actually open a doorway into something much deeper so that you can express something that might be coming forth that stems from maybe a childhood wound or something in a past life, or something that you just ran across in your life in the school systems, coming from a voice of a teacher, coming from a bully, or coming from, it's just take the time, give yourself that kind of like self-love to bring more words to it, being, put your hands on those places and locations and just ask it, why are you there? What's coming up? Right. Um, solar plexus energy around the third chakra, that's where we distribute power throughout our body. And, what are we empowered by? Like, what is our sense of identity? What does it thrive on? Is it outer validation? Is it money? Do we feel security in that? What if that gets all ripped away? What do we have to fall back on? So what are we chasing in order to feel okay? Like, I mean, it's just self-knowledge. And that's why I love astrology. So sometimes, and I don't want to be like, hey, come get a reading. But it does help to know how the planetary aspects are impacting you. So when you talked about the artificial components of the moon, there's sometimes, you can really see with the lunar energies if a person is really under that spell, or if they have connection to the higher octaves of the lunar energy, like with Neptune and Uranus. Intuition, a bigger picture of the multidimensional, and access to the creative imagination. That helps that lunar energy not be sort of, held to this sort of lunar distortions, right? So it kind of, helps to see, where these things are coming from. What is the root of it? What did you bring in from past lives? What are you working on? What are you here to learn from? What are you here to integrate? What are you here to step into? And so it's not just about, getting an astrology chart done. You can get that. There's a lot of astrologers out there. But just tuning in and having a dialogue, and also looking at, what do you want to create for yourself? What are the most important goals that you have for yourself, and what do you think is, possibly standing in the way? And face that thing that you think is standing in the way, and don't let it just have so much power over you. It's going to want to look like that, and at times, it might feel like that, but at the same time, if you can keep yourself from going into a survival response and a panic response, and just, kind of like breathe and just be grounded, and just, hold a strong intent, try and talk to the people that might seem like outer authority, and try and speak to their soul a little bit. They might be working for the system, but they're still a human. They still are just doing their job. They still might have a human soul in them to be able to kind of work with you. And if not, just ask for somebody else that, might be able to assist. And I'm talking about when you have to answer to just all the bills of life and taxes and, that kind of stuff, or just rules and mandates. And I know that some of the mandates are being lifted, but what's the next wave of energy coming in? Are you living in a location that you feel is suitable for your growth? It's good to just be willing to just take up, just pack up and leave, or to recognize that you're there for a reason, to maybe hold a strong frequency or light in a dark area.
It's why
The
I'm
more
here
we
in
get in touch with
DC.
our soul and the more we get in touch with, ourselves, and we ask ourselves these questions, the more we, can answer it and just say, yeah, I know I'm here for a reason. I mean, you're really strong in who you are, and you're very soul-centered. So,
Yeah.
and somebody might feel like, okay, I'm here for a reason. And other people might feel like, it's not sustainable. I don't feel strong in this area. I need to go somewhere else. And what's getting in the way? Why do you think that you can't make it happen? And I can only look at my own life and seeing where I was able to do what others might think was impossible. Just raising 2 kids and having to move so many times, having to just get away from dangerous situations, and knowing that my perspective and the way I felt about things had everything to do with what I created. And anytime I dipped into fear or survival, it was like everything was just crushing down on me and nothing was falling into place. I couldn't see the synchronicities. I only saw things that reinforced my anxiety or my fears. And then, like, whoop, wait a second. I don't need to be holding that. I don't need to be navigating from that place in myself. And that's where the meditation or the self-care, or just, knowing in the moment, you can just recalibrate everything and redirect your thoughts and your focus, and just set the intention, and have more trust and faith in yourself, and invoke and call in that protection, and know that it's there. But for you to be able to perceive it is to know it, or else you'll only see things that reinforce the things you're afraid of. So I've seen myself tested over and over again to make that adjustment within myself, to manifest a completely different set of circumstances than what I would be able to manifest if I was holding on to those beliefs or those thoughts, because outer society would put a projection or a judgment on it. Like, ooh, how are you going to like get by? You don't have any money. You're living out of your vehicle. But I have skills. I'm resourceful. I'm creative. And I got a mission, and I'm challenged right now to live by my words and know that I can manifest a miracle or some kind of synchronicity, and boom, there you have it. It's like when people want to like launch something that's more soul centered, as far as like moving away from a corporate job and saying, I'm not really here for that. It's helping me to pay the bills, but I'm not really here for that. So they might hold on to it for a while for that sense of security, but does that mean that they're going to let go of the real calling? No. So when you start to develop that, you can eventually let go of the other one, and it'll begin to sustain you, perhaps. And sometimes, you might juggle both, and wherever you're at, just don't be afraid to take risks And don't put any judgment on the stuckness that you might feel either, as long as you're devoted to the journey of discovering truth and just staying in alignment with organic ascension, staying grounded with Mother Earth and all the different alignments and energies that come through from the sun, from the different planets, from Mother Earth herself. You'll begin to find soul family. You'll begin to move away from the things that are not seeing you for the potential of all that you are. And you'll start to discover those that are right under your nose that are in resonance with who you are. And if you notice that that's not there, maybe it's up to you to take the leadership role. Maybe you don't realize that your North Node's in Aries and that Mars is making an angle saying, you know what, you're here to learn leadership. That might not be your comfort level, but this is what you're here to step into. What if you didn't know that and you just fell back on what's comfortable as a false sense of security that you want to drop, you want to quit. So it's good to know these kind of things. And that's why I like to work with people. But, whether it's me or anybody, you can learn it online or just even have a quick 15-minute call to just, find out a few of these things. And sometimes it can change everything. Sometimes people have a lot of planets on their North Node, makes it a little easier. They're just like boom, they're ready. They're ready to go. They're like right on top of their mission. Other times there's a lot of people that have planets that are on their South Node and just kind of holding them back. It's like their comfort level. But, just having that glimpse of what you're here to learn and step into will spark a little bit more confidence in pursuing it. And I just think these kind of things are important to know. So that would be my nuggets of wisdom: more self-knowledge, more paying attention to what your body's trying to tell you, more faith in your ability to correct, what might feel like a mistake, of something that you might have ingested even. Maybe even those that got that, is that all doom and gloom? No, we have to understand that spirit holds dominion over physical matter. This is a part of the Great Awakening, that these dark technologies really only have a hold on us if we give it the power of our minds and we give up on our souls and our ability to recognize that, we can turn this around and we hold the power within to be able to do that. And not everybody's going to be up for that challenge, but we're infinite and we've got all the opportunity in the world to eventually learn. So let's not let other people's choices drag us down either. So the ones that are uncomfortably waking up though, just know that that alone is everything for your physical body to begin to adjust itself to the new frequency of what your mind is carrying. And that informs, your DNA. It informs, the rest of your body to, begin to clear itself and unwind from where a bioweapon will hook you into the most dangerous part of it all, which is you not being able to think for yourself and you not being able to be in touch with your heart, your soul, and your greater purpose, and we're here to fall back down and get back up again. We're here to face these things, to get stronger, to rescue these greater abilities that will show up when we're willing to discover, that there's no weapon that is stronger, because we're the most advanced technology that they don't want us to remember. And I don't feel like there's anything that we can't heal or correct and recover from. And I think that is what really preys on people, is just looking for just that answer, that solution, so whether they're listening to a false authority or whether they're hoping for the med beds or something to just save the day, just don't forget that you got so much more within you to begin to start just doing that healing work right now and every moment, and just pay attention. And the herbs of Mother Earth and just all the medicines that she provides, it's been known for thousands and thousands of years that we'd be facing this kind of new world order and this AI kind of stuff. And I know that Mother Earth has it in her body and her medicines to be able to counteract it, because she's the stronger force. And yes, there's geoengineering and the manipulation of weather and all this kind of stuff, but that's in tandem with the manipulation of human consciousness. And so once you break free of that, you're going to notice that you're not in that inverted matrix and seeing Mother Earth compromised by that either, because you've removed yourself. You're going to notice that you are beginning to move into a higher earth energy, because you're not holding on to those inversions and where those weapons have got the best of you and Mother Earth. There's a higher earth energy that exists, that those things have no power over her or you. And anyway, so the solstice energy and just knowing that the mother is not separate from the father, and that cosmic trinity in union is birthing that magical child, that 0 point unified energy that we can find and purify in, returning to that divine innocence and presence of miracles and magic. But, when we have to answer to things and we do find ourselves getting a bit ignited and a bit angry, so be it. We plant seeds, and, we're not just going to just sit and take it, but at least we can just close the door and regenerate and just find that laughter and humor, like you said, and just be like, okay, well, maybe that wasn't the best way to respond. I'm doing that constantly with myself. It's like I go into these zones and I'm like, it is what it is. And I'm human, I can't help it at times, but I don't have to take it so seriously to the point of it stopping me from being like, okay, I can shut the door and get back to center and find my neutrality again, find my inner balance, but it does have to hear from us. It's just like, whether it pays attention, whether it does anything, I think sometimes it does enough for a person to begin to process over the course of time. Maybe not right in the moment. And yeah. So people got to really let go, moving out of the personality matrix is the 3Ds, the lower chakras. And expanding into much more is to realign that sense of identity with, something much greater. And everybody has that choice in every moment to just say, I'm done. Just like you would want to be done with an abusive, narcissistic partner. And I know I redundantly say that in my interviews, but it's the same kind of thing. When is enough enough?
Yeah. And you're talking about the energies and getting angry and being triggered and that it's okay. Well, maybe it's not okay in the moment to get explosive, but you could easily put some of your feelings, your emotions in a sifter and just sift through them, because they're going to come out the other end a little bit smaller and in molecule and particles and it might be a little fluffier. So it might not have been such an explosive situation if you just sit back and just allow yourself to sift through a lot of the things that are being triggered right now, and
Yeah.
and offer yourself a little bit more TLC. And everything is a freaking lesson. There's no right or wrong. Everything's a lesson, and learn to bob and weave, and that there's no manual right now. We're trying to recreate and restore and have some restoration of some of the inner true things that have been disguised as truth. And don't be so embarrassed to unplug yourself and have a lot of isolation time either, because that's okay too.
It's beyond necessary,
Yeah.
because you do want to find that outlet, because, our words are so powerful. And I think people are realizing that more and more every day. And when that gets overwhelmed with just the madness of it all, or just not even paying attention to the words we speak or the way we react, I mean, you have to just kind of step away for a little bit, because Mercury is connected to the magician, and Mercury and the magician create reality. Our words are powerful. So, if we're strong in our intent, if we're not just stooping down to a level of being combative or just getting angry or trying to and we can just choose words that have more clarity and intent. It's amazing, sometimes how effective it can be and how much it can change things.
Yeah.
Just we notice like a tone of voice. Sometimes I can feel the tone and the energy, and I just know that it's just, and it's like, oh, I get triggered and, this and that. But am I hearing it correctly, or is it coming from something in me that is putting a projection on it? I mean, so why be too quick to react? Why don't I just kind of sit with it for a second and just know that there's many ways that I could actually hear that. And I need to just, drop into myself. If I'm totally clear and it's just coming in the form of attack, I don't need to let it in. I can have a boundary. I can walk away. But if I have no choice and I'm, up against it, how can I disarm it with, just kind of forgiveness and unconditional love and acceptance of where that person's at? So being more mindful and conscious in every moment is so important, because it can make or break the quality of our day and just the way we feel the next day. And when we can accumulate a lot of really good days of just having more clarity and mindfulness, eventually, we see the results, and we can just begin to see our life change for the better, and just be like, yeah, it was really worth doing that inner work, instead of yeah, just being in reactive mode. So we got to take
Yeah.
that time. And when we look at the calendars, when we look at the way society set up, it doesn't really offer a lot of that understanding of the importance of that. It wants to kind of medicate it, like, if we're going into the dark night of the soul, and people are find it very daunting, and they just feel like it's too much to face, and they just feel like they don't want to go to work, and they don't want to do anything, and they're just kind of in a spot where it's, kind of difficult. You can't really call in and, like, be cut slack for it, but you got to go out of your way to make sure that you give yourself that time, instead of just being robotic and just being like, okay, well, I'll take that medication and make it go away, to have a quick fix. It's like, how can you restructure your life to hold space for yourself, to be able to really move through it? Because it's got messages for you. Your soul is screaming out to you. It wants to be heard. It's like your inner child is screaming for a reason, or your divine wisdom, depending on, what needs to come up in the moment. It's just like, really honor it. Don't medicate it. Don't shove it back down. And yeah, so that's part of the tender loving care. The TLC is, you'd be surprised what comes out of your mouth when you give a voice to your anxieties and your depression or your anger. It'll really start to show you, this is what you're passionate about. This is what you long for. This is what doesn't make sense. So what can you do to answer to that and make changes in your life to, create that justice for you, and begin to cut the cords and have the boundaries where you need, and just know that you're being held, and you can just kind of fall back and trust a little bit more than what you might think.
Thank
Because
you.
this dependency bond with this system is such a false sense of security, and it's a really hard one to let go of. But to me, that's the ultimate step. And that, to me, is the awakening that's happening right now, is everybody is facing that choice. Are you ready to take that leap? And maybe you and I took it a lot sooner. Maybe we took it a long time ago. Maybe that's not part of our challenge. Maybe our challenge is very different as far as how we handle our reaction to what we see. It doesn't matter where we're at, though. We're all here to become this kind of more unified field of unity consciousness, which means that we're here to just switch each other on, where our strengths can help somebody where they aren't strong in that area, and vice versa. We all have a gift to give to one another, and it's not going to work if we don't see that that's the greater work that we're called to do as a humanity, and that's what's being targeted more than ever right now.
Well said. Thank you. Now, I know you're so busy, traveling, writing your book, and doing all kinds of things, and I'm so appreciative of your time today. But are you doing charts for people right now? I mean, I know sometimes you got to take a sabbatical because you're just so busy, but are you doing charts for people right now?
Yeah, July is very free. I'm going to be in England in August, Avebury and Glastonbury, which is really cool.
Okay. Oh, that'll be
And then
fun.
yeah, like July and September, October, November, all those dates are pretty open. And I have a subscription thing. We all come together, and I bring on different
Mhm.
people, just help to just really be open and just talk about where we're at. I do mini readings, we do meditations, and it's just a chance for people to just feel like less alone. And I have a podcast, and everything's pretty much on my website, cosmicguide.org. But yeah, I do readings. And if you want just a little sample, a 15-minute reading, the subscription is $15 a month, and I pretty much can take, calls with no additional fee, and then discounted sessions. But if, you don't know if you really want to do that, a small donation is helpful for just a short reading. And if you're in a crisis and you are broke, I will do all that I can to make this time and space to assist you.
And she does. She does, everybody, just so you know. But it is worth it to pay for the group and get yourself a full-length session because it can change your life. It can change the course of things. I have followed astrology since the 90s when it wasn't cool. And I lived and breathed it. I've had readings with Laura, and I can vouch for how much it gives me insight on making decisions. And then it also, it's like, oh yeah, I didn't think about it from that aspect, for whatever my sun line might be, or a planetary alignment, or a node here, or a node there, or a node hitting me on the top of the head, and I refuse to look, and she'll point it out. So I
Yes,
suggest
it
y'all
helps.
get
It's
a
like
reading and get it before she gets too busy with her book runs and all kinds of things, which of course we'll have you back on when the book comes out. And I think you're working with that with Brad and other people. And I'm so happy for you to just get that together. I mean, I'm sure that's been a very long time coming, this particular
oh
book that
yeah.
you're working on.
Oh yeah, like a decade. I mean, it's like a lifetime. It's just, yeah, I'm really excited to finally, get it out there. It's very
Yeah.
daunting. It's nerve-wracking right now, but yeah, it's close. It's close to where I'm not gonna be able to touch it anymore. And it's just like in the publishing hands
Yeah,
and
that should be
just
open. I go,
let go.
because it's never really done. It's just out of your hands
I
and
know.
other publishers.
It's
You
just
can't
like,
you can't reel
take
it
it
back in and
away.
change something. I understand. I
I
look
know.
forward to having a book one day. Right now, it's just bunch of bunch of notebooks and journals and all kinds of things. But maybe someday I'll be called to put it in writing. But all right, well, Laura, I just
Oh,
want to thank you so much for coming on and sharing just all of your wisdom and the astrological energetics right now, and then your intuitive input between the lines. And
I
it's
hope
just
it was
always a
helpful.
pleasure hanging out with you. I could do it for hours. I'm sorry you don't
Oh,
live
you
here in my
too.
area anymore.
Oh, well, when I get back in that area, I'll definitely to let you know because,
Yes,
yeah,
girl.
uh, I'm just grateful for you and I look forward to just staying in touch. And it's always wonderful to be in your presence and to
Absolutely.
have these conversations. I
Well,
hope it
hang
was helpful.
Oh, I think it was very helpful, and I can't wait to actually I don't always rewatch the videos, but this one I'm gonna go back and rewatch because there was so much information coming through. I'm like, I think I need to hear that again. So I'm sure it'll be very helpful for everyone.
Oh,
But
good. All right.
stay put and let's just say goodbye. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.